Hello and welcome to the Identity Architect podcast with your host Greg Fearon. And today I have the awesome Kevin Chiche in today, who's going to talk to you all about identity and how it's going to help you in your business and your health.
Yeah.
Hey, Kevin, welcome to the show.
Well, glad to be here, man. And I think we should have done it like a long time ago. We didn't, but finally. And yeah, we're going to talk about identity. We're going to talk about branding. We're going to talk about your health and how identity work and identities all related to how you show up in the world, basically.
I'm looking forward to this conversation. Do you want to give the listeners a quick intro into who you are, what you do?
Yeah, sure. So I've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes of 6 to 8 figure personal brands. And at one point, I realized that it's not what I want to do. I don't want to be behind the scenes. I don't want to be the guy that does it behind the scenes for people. So I wanted to do it for myself. And I started doing it as, let me give you a quick backstory. So growing up, I was this awkward kid. I moved from being super popular in the Caribbean, moved to Israel, where I was bullied. And therefore, I was isolated, socially isolated. And what happened is that I learned how to socialize and how to be myself based on what I saw on TV, right? And I saw
Okay.
Batman talking like, oh, yeah, this is me. I was like, yeah, I have to talk like that. Like,
Yeah.
this is the cool guy, right? He gets the girls, he gets the money, he gets everything. So I have to be like this guy. But that's basically how I learned how to socialize and how to curate a persona that I thought would be loved by people, would be marketable, sellable, and that's the mentality I came with when I got into my business. And it took a lot of time for me to, and some personal issues and I would say some obstacles in a way, relationships and business and all those kind of things that made me or yeah, they made me look inward and realize, okay, wait a second, let me just remove all the conditioning and realize who am I really and how I want to show up in the world, because right now it's not working for me, right? I'm getting into relationships, it's not working. I'm doing business ventures, it's not working for me, right? I can hide behind those big brands and it's easy for me to do the work because yeah, well, I don't have to show who I am really. Like I'm writing copy for somebody, so I don't have to show who I am, right? I'm building funnels and doing all those kind of things. I don't have to show who I am. And the moment I changed my perspective, this is the moment I started going deep into identity and what it represents. And I'm also a psychologist. So basically like the whole work of psychology and basically tying together self-mastery and business mastery and personal branding mastery. So that's who I am. That's what I'm doing nowadays.
Great, awesome. And I and obviously we connected must be like 6 years ago or something,
Yeah,
wasn't
something
it?
like
Where
that,
we
man.
did
Yeah.
some work together, which was groundbreaking for me. But there's something you said there, which is the identity thing. I think that the issue we have is that we try to separate all the parts of our lives.
Yeah.
So we have health in one corner, relationships there, business or career there, and
Mhm.
then we wonder why it never seems to fit together.
Yeah.
Have you got some thoughts around that?
Yeah, sure. So I think that most people think that they can be one person to the outside world, and again, compartmentalize it into different areas and topics, quote unquote, and hide who we are really. Now, the thing is, I think that when it comes to your health and when it comes to your business and when it comes to your relationships, there's, I think, one layer deeper, which is people think that when they get into this specific result that they want to get, for example, the relationship or the weight or the money, they're going to get something. Like, I'm finally going to find myself. I'm finally going to be able to look inward and be myself and do what I want, right? Once I have the relationship, somebody's going to love me and therefore I can be who I am. And then you get into the relationship and then you're scared to lose it and then you're not who you are,
Who you meant
right?
to be, yeah.
Or exactly. Or you're doing the same thing in your business. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get the money, and therefore I can give you a fuck you money, right? Or shut up check, right? And be
Yeah.
like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna be who I am right now, and you're not, because you get into this. where you want to get like the money and all that, and you realize that it's empty. Basically, it's not like you're not the person that built it. There's somebody else that built it, which is the person that you curated, the persona that you curated, but it's not who you really are that built it. And so I think that people are scared to show up who they truly are, and therefore they are trying to give some kind of little glimpse into who they are in different aspects or different topics. And there's a really cool psychologist called Philip Broomberg. He talks about this idea that every human is an archipelago. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically a group of islands. And you and I, we should know, man. We're from
Yeah.
the islands, but it's a group of islands, right?
Yeah.
And every human is a group of islands, and those different islands represent different aspects of who we are, different parts within ourselves. And we bring certain parts and certain aspects of ourselves into whatever, like relationship, and it can be relationship like with friends, in relationship with close friends, in relationship with your loved one, in relationship with your kids, right? Or business. In every aspects of our lives, we bring different parts of ourselves. And therefore, nobody has the full picture of you. And to have the full picture, we have to know you in all those different aspects, but nobody knows you in those different aspects.
And this is the scary bit, because for years and years being a health coach primarily, I thought I had to show up online as this polished, perfect professional. And I
Right.
wondered why it was so hard for me to just show up every day.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I was hiding the
Yeah.
real me, the
Mm-hmm.
geeky guy, the like guy who likes Marvel films and who likes a burger and who loves sweets. I love sweets, right? And
Me
I
too,
was
man.
trying to fit I was trying to fit into this perfect social media
Mm-hmm.
like persona,
Mm-hmm.
and wondering why after a while it was like so tiring. Like, why I can't
Yeah.
produce content. Why is that? And then I kind of stepped back and said, hang on a minute. Are you really being who you want to be?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when things changed, maybe over the last 3 or 4 years, especially, where I said,
Right.
I need to do things differently, and I need to show my clients that they can do things differently too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that when you are trying to curate a certain persona and show this likable person to other people, you're scared to be seen. And when you are scared to be seen, what people don't realize is that it takes so much energy to censor yourself, to filter who you are, to edit yourself. So basically what happens is that you have your thoughts, you have your beliefs and everything. And the moment it comes to your mouth or your fingers for that matter, right? If you want to type something, right? When you want to express something, it goes through some filter that creates this diluted or dumbed down version of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore it's so fucking hard. You are exhausted. Like I remember when I was trying to write I remember I think it was a few months ago, and I was thinking, I was going about it the wrong way. I was trying to write some pieces of content, and I was like, yeah, this is my time to curate the content, to batch curate the content, and batch create, not batch create. And I was sitting and writing, and I started writing one post, and I was like, oh, fuck, no, I have to delete that. And then I started writing it again, and I deleted it again, and then I started writing some other piece. I was like, let me just do something else. Like this one is not working. And I tried to do it, and then I moved to the next one, and to the next one. I probably moved to like from one to the other, like 5 or 6 pieces of content. Like, what's going on here? Like, what the like? I can write a lot. I'm a kind of person that can express himself pretty well, right? And spoken, like orally or even written. But what's going on? And I realized that it's because I was trying to come across a certain way. Like I have to write this thing that people are going to validate,
Yeah.
right? And when you look at it, it's the same thing with everything. I have to lose weight because people are going to validate me. Now, I'm not going to get into body positivity and like, oh yeah, just be like obese and whatever. Like that's bullshit. But what I'm saying is, you have to lose the weight, right? You have to be healthy.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, most people do it because they want to get validated. And when they do that, it becomes super hard because they're operating from this identity of I'm not enough, and whatever I'm doing, I have to do it So people would give me their validation, their appreciation, and and then you lose yourself in the process, and you lose your motivation. You lose anything that like the fire that was lighting up your ass and being like, hey, I have to do that. I have to reach my goals, right? Because everything that you start right from the beginning, you are motivated, you want to get there. But then as you progress, it's like you have motivation and then people tell you like motivation doesn't work, but it's not motivation. Motivation is always here. Like the why, like Simon Sinek says, like start with the why. This is your North Star. This is like the motivation. Underneath that, you have the discipline. Like I want to get to my motivation. I have to have the discipline. But people, what they do is that they set the wrong goals and they set the wrong motivation. And therefore they say like, oh, motivation dies after a while. It's bullshit and it's useless, but it's not, right? It's you choosing the wrong motivation, which is based on your identity, which is underlying everything, right? And you choose the wrong identity to go and chase. And then you're like, oh, I'm not capable of doing it. I'm not capable of achieving whatever I want.
And that's what then holds you back from doing it. Because for me, motivation moves. So clients might say to, oh, Greg, I'm not motivated to them. So, okay, great. Where's your motivation move to?
Mm-hmm.
And when they think about it, they're like, oh, actually, it's motivated me to sit in front of the sofa on the sofa and watch films like that all day. And I'm like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But then they're like, oh, but I'm not going to hit my fitness goal. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
well, the question is was the goal or the dream architecture, as I call it, is the
Right.
dream actually your dream or is it an Instagram dream?
That's a good one.
Are you running someone else's dream or is it your dream?
Yeah.
And when I
Yeah.
talk through that with clients, I'm like, okay, so you didn't want abs. You wanted to run around with your children,
Mm-hmm.
or you wanted to look good when you go to carnival,
Mm-hmm.
or you wanted to be an athlete. Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So then all of a sudden, they don't beat themselves up anymore. There's none of
Mm-hmm.
this motivation lack. It's like, oh, this is aligned with me and who I want to be. I'm
Yeah.
not following a manufactured dream that I
Right.
saw someone else that I felt like I had to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It makes perfect sense because, and I think that people are not that self-aware. Like if you ask them how self-aware you are, they tend to over-evaluate it. They're like, "Oh yeah, I'm super self-aware." Like, yeah, why are you doing that? No, no, just no reason, right? And as a psychologist, I see that at the clinic every single time. I'm like, "Hey, you said this. What did you mean by that?" "Oh no, nothing." Like, no, you meant something, right? I had a patient one day, and I'm not gonna get into it because it's not what I'm doing online, but just to give you this little story parable. I had a patient one day. We started therapy, and he said, "Yeah, you know what? Like, this is better that you are my therapist because the other one, he's religious and he's going to judge me based on whatever, blah blah blah." I'm like, "Yeah, you know what? That's interesting because we are all scared of being judged. But do you have anything that you want to tell me? Like something that you are hiding, like not hiding, but there's something that you want to say, and you're scared to be judged." It's obvious, right? But the guy was like, "Oh no, 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 I have nothing. Like everything's fine."
I'll say anything.
Exactly. Exactly, exactly. But that's the thing. Like people are not self-aware though to the level that they think they are, and therefore, what happens is that they're going to tell you, "Oh yeah, I want to get the abs," because like it's in their face all day, every day, right? And that's pretty much like their brain is pretty much rotten, basically, right? If you
Yeah.
like just doom scroll, like your brain is just like, oh, abs, 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 and so you start thinking this way, but you never stop to really dig deeper and try to think like, oh, why do I want the abs? Because the abs are going to help me do something. I don't know what exactly, but the abs are going to help me get something, right? It's like when you ask in business, like, what do you want to make the money? It's not that you want to make the money, basically. You want to have something else. Like for me, people want to show up to as their true self. They are sick of just performing a persona. So I can talk about, hey, let's make money. And by the way, I stopped talking about that. Like, hey, I'm helping people make the money, make six figures, whatever, like get 5 leads. Because first of all, it attracts the wrong people,
Yep.
but also it also ends up, and it's probably the same thing with like losing 20 pounds and whatever. Like it attracts the wrong people, but also I don't think it's ethical to say that. I cannot help you get the six figure, right? I can help you get the tools that you need. I can help you to get the principles in place in order to get there, but I cannot help you get the six figures because so many confounding variables. And so when you think about it this way, you're like, oh, okay, so what do people really want? What is their before and after? And when you start thinking about it this way, you're like, oh, okay, so now it's easy to market your business, but it's also easy to get people to where they want to get because getting the abs, and yes, it's pretty much easy to say like, hey, just do whatever, like 8 minute, the 8 minute, whatever, abs training,
Yeah.
whatever. But people don't follow through, right? Because they have a problem. It's not what they want.
And you hit the nail on the head. Like if I had a pound for or a Thai baht for every time someone came to me and said, Greg, I saw your last client and I want to lose weight like her. And I'm like, okay, great. Why?
Why?
And it's like no one's ever asked that question before
Mhm.
because they've gone through so many people that have just said, right, hey Kev, you're going to lose 20 pounds this month in the next 90 days. Here's the meal plan, here's the trading plan, go execute. So no one's ever asked them, who do they want to become?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how does that fit into their dream life?
Hmm.
And I've seen clients paralyzed by these questions. Like,
Hmm.
and these are
Yeah.
smart, like high performing women who are the bosses all day, but no one's ever stopped to ask them, what do you really want?
Yeah. Yeah. It
And
reminds me of, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what I find is it's not that they want to be someone new.
Hmm.
There's a version of themselves that they buried
Hmm. Yeah.
over time because of society. You have to do this, and it's trying to get them to connect back to that.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's where the magic is. It's never lose 20 pounds in 90 days. Everyone's done that.
Yeah.
And it
And this is
attracts the
something,
wrong people. Exactly.
yeah, better people who wants to do the work, who understand that the work that they have to do is deeper and takes more time, but they're willing to do it because they're not just like, hey, I want to like people that want to get the results, like I want to make the money or I want to lose the 20 pounds, whatever, they are desperate for the results. And so they're going to be pain in the ass clients. They're going to ask you to hold their hands every step of the way, and they're going to be like, Greg, I'm doing what you said, but it's not working. And then you start digging and you're like, no, you're not doing what I'm saying. Right. You're
But
missing this and you're
it's
missing
my
that.
fault. But it's my fault then.
Yeah, it's your fault, man. It's your fault. Of course. But here's the thing. Okay, there are a few things that we have to unpack here
Yeah, of
because
course.
one of the thing is many, many gurus, they are they're assholes, right? They're shaming and guilting people for not getting the results. Oh, you're not getting the money, you're not getting the leads because you don't want it enough. You're not doing it because you're not getting it because you're not doing the work that you have to do. But then they never. And I was writing a piece on that. I haven't finished that. I'm going to publish it probably in a few days. But many people talk about how they are they need to do the work and they give you the steps to get to where you want to get, but they never engineer the pitfalls and the obstacle that you're going to get into or
Mhm.
you're going to bump into and how to climb out of the pitfall, the ladder that I'm going to give you. So when you build, and that's something amazing that I started doing in all the offers that I'm creating with people. It's basically helping them see and packaging their genius and IP. It's helping them see that okay, there's your IP and what you want to help people get and how you help them get there. But there's also a few things that you have to realize because people, we are basically creature of habits, and our habits they're going to kill us or help us thrive, right? But the thing is, when we have our habits, it's really hard to get into new habits. We have to kill old habits in order to install new ones. We have to get rid of dysfunctional ones in order to get or install functional ones. And so when you are trying to instill new habits in your clients, so for example, here's how to eat, here's how to train, here's how to do whatever. What happens is that you are just giving them the blueprints of how they have to get to the results. But inevitably, they're going to fall into a pit because something happened. And your ability to help them climb out of the pit is going to reinforce the learning. It's going to reinforce the new habits. And it's going to reinforce the transformation so that later on they can be independent and they can get the results and keep the results and whatever. They can keep going and they're not going to be needing you. But not many people want to talk about it because they're like, oh, I want my clients to need me. I want to get more money, right? The thing is, you have to create new offers that help them solve new problems, but not the problems that you are creating in your program. So that's one thing, right? That's one aspect of it. But there's another aspect that you said earlier. You said you're helping people reconnect with the old version of themselves. And I think that it's really important to reconnect to who you are, like at the core, like the essence of who you are, and also looking forward to who you want to become. And you cannot just say like, "Oh, this is who I am, so I'm going to stay here." But you cannot say, "Oh, this is who I want to become," and then that's it. Like I'm going to forget everything else because you have your operating system that needs to be to help you move forward. And I was telling you that when we talked about the when we ideated for
This
podcast.
podcast, yeah.
Yeah, I was telling you about how many people online want to they say they want to become thought leaders because thought leaders get the money, thought leaders get the attention, they get the likes, they get the virality and all that. But there are a few things there. Like, first of all, you shouldn't chase the virality and all that. So when you look at people being thought leaders, being a thought leader by definition is leading a new school of thoughts. And at first, you're not popular. At first, people hate your guts. People are going to be like, "Hey, you're just talking shit," right? And you can see that throughout history. Like all the great people,
Yep.
they're being like I've been studying a lot of psychology. I've been studying a lot of um, um, innovation and people. You see that they come with something revolutionary, even in religion, right? They come with something revolutionary to look at the world differently, a new perspective. And at first, it's like, oh yeah, there's a few people following them. And you're like, oh yeah, you're changing my life. And then it creates a movement. And then you have like this old way, the old school coming to get them and being like, hey, you assholes, like you're doing something wrong. And they're not even trying to understand what it is. So it's the same thing. Like when you are a thought leader, at first, you're not popular. And that people don't want to hear that. They don't know that. Now that's the one thing. The second thing is not everybody is supposed to be a thought leader. A thought leader is somebody that, based on his operating system, is somebody that is a rule breaker, a nonconformist person, right? I am like that. Growing up, I was this kind of kid that wanted to do things my way. Now, society, parents, friends, or bullying in school, they told me like, hey, you have to conform. You have to go like on this line. You cannot go right or left. You
Have
have
to
to
go.
follow this line, and that's
Yep.
it. Exactly. And then I became this conformist kid because of that. But deep down, if I look deep inside, and that's part of the work that I've been doing in the last 3 years, if I look deep inside, I know that I'm a person that is not trying to follow the rules. Not that I'm trying to be a rebel, right? But I'm trying to do things my way, be independent, be nonconformist. And so for me, it fits to be a thought leader. And you're going to see that the pieces of content I write, they're trying to change the perspective and the paradigm, right? Give a paradigm shift. Like, oh, you're doing this way, you're doing it this way, it's wrong because blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
But some people, they have a different operating system. Some people are just introverts, right? And then you think about it and you're like, there was a lady that asked me that on LinkedIn a few days ago. She's like, how do you how do you become visible when you are an introvert? Because I see that those like super successful personal brands, they're like super loud and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you don't have to. You don't have to be loud. You have to find your way. I cannot tell you what your way is because you have to find it. But you have to try and incorporate this flaw that you see or quirk into the way that you do things. And you can see like Chris Doe is talking about being a loud introvert, right? Or those kind of people that are like the worst thing that you can do is to be one person behind the scene, one person on a scene, right? I had like my one of my mentors, he was this loud person on the internet, like a loud character, loud
Yeah.
persona. And when I finally met him, He was like this shy person, awkward person. I'm like talking to him, like, "Hey, how you doing?" It's like, I don't want to out him, but it's like, I'm like, "How you doing?" It's like, "Oh yeah, it's good." And then you see him on the internet, it's like, "Oh," like what the fuck? Where's this person? Right? And the same thing with Russell Brunson. I met him once, and you see this guy is like super like full of energy and like enthusiastic. And then you meet him, he's like a regular guy saying like, "Hey, how you doing? What's up?" Like, "Oh, cool. I'm awkward," right? But that's the thing. Like the worst thing that you can do is to be two different persons. And it's kind of like a vertical split. Like one part of you is just who you are behind the scenes. One part of you is like this functioning person, this high functioning person that has a business, has a career, or whatever. Like and kind of same thing with your clients, I think, right? They're like they have the business, they have the career, they're super successful, but behind the scenes, they suck.
It's so funny. I had a call with a client this morning, and for the first 2 or 3 months, we have
Mhm.
not talked about diet.
Mm,
And
yeah.
this is one of the revelations I've had in the last couple of years about being true to myself and my identity.
Mhm.
And I said to
Yeah.
her, she said, "Isn't it about time we talked about nutrition now?" I went, "Okay, well, do you feel like you're ready?" And she was like, "Yeah, I feel like it." And she said to me, "I would never have stayed so long if you started on diet and nutrition because that's what I've done all my life."
Mm. Yeah.
So it goes back to your point about what people see online. They're super saturated. I must do it this way. I must be the loud brand. I must be the career woman who smashes everything and is always everywhere at every networking event. Oh my God, I can't tell you.
Yeah.
What I say when especially when I was in London, people were like, "Greg, you got to come to this networking event."
Mhm.
I'm like, I want to stay at home and watch Marvel films. Leave me alone. They were like, but you'll never be successful if you don't come to this. I'm like,
Mm.
well, that coming to that is not going to make me successful. So
Right.
I digress. Let me just go back to this client quickly. So I said to her, you spent 3 months doing what most women would never do. And she said, "What?" I said, "You've
Mm.
been embedding the superhero identity, as I call it, of who you want to be. This is why
Mhm.
you're now ready to look at nutrition without stressing yourself out."
Mhm.
Because she
Yeah.
thought, Instagram, I need to eat protein, I need to do all these things. I said, "That's not you."
Yeah.
She's
Mhm.
an Indian woman, Gujarati background, and her doctor said, "Oh, you've got to eat these foods." And I'm like, that's going to go against your whole culture, which is the biggest
Mhm.
part of your identity.
Mhm.
That's not going to work. And that's why it's
Yeah.
failed so many times. And I see that in the business world as well. Like you said, the blueprint, you must do this. You must
Mhm.
write this post today, this post on
Yeah.
Tuesday. You need to
Yeah.
comment on 600 million posts with the five thought leaders, five people in your niche, blah, blah, blah. And it's the most draining thing in the world.
It is. It is.
It's so,
It is, man.
it put me off LinkedIn for months. I was like, I'm not doing
Right.
this. And it's that parallel of what happens in business, career, health, relationship is because people keep following these blueprints
Mhm.
without looking at the traps you mentioned,
Yeah.
the
Right.
fatigue, the what happens when this happens. No one talks about that. You're
Mhm.
I'd love you to elaborate on that just a little bit because no one talks about because they want the program to look super successful. Every person's going to go flying
Right.
through it and come out 30 pounds lighter, 10K richer, 20 more
Yeah.
clients.
Mhm.
But I would argue that 95% of people go through programs and actually fail
Yeah. Yeah.
because those traps, those dips were never put into the program because the person running it was scared to say, "Hey, look, this program is not perfect. You're going to run into this, this, and this, but I'm going to help you get out of it."
Right. Yeah.
Is that what you see?
Yeah. I was talking to my cousin a few weeks ago, and it's funny because I say that to many of my clients and patients, but my cousin he started a new coaching program. It's a cool thing. Like he was telling me about it. I was like, "Oh, dude, like I gotta do it someday." It's a coaching program with horses. So basically, they're using horses to teach you some leadership skills, to teach you how to regulate your nervous system, and all like it's really amazing. And he was telling me about how the guy in the program told him that when you're going to first start a program, it was a 12-week program, I think. When you're going to first start a program, it's going to be awesome. Like you're going to be super excited. Like, dude, like I'm going to do it. Like I'm going to be successful, right? Exactly. And then it's going to start like that, and eventually it's going to die down. You
Yep.
know, yeah, exactly. And that's everything in life. And that's what even with your emotions, many people don't realize it when you have, and even with addiction, right? That's how you help people stop addictions. You tell them that, or you teach them through whatever exercises and all that, that it starts with like, I have no urge, right? There's nothing, or no emotion, or whatever, different emotion. But then it goes up and the emotion intensifies, the urge intensifies, and then it dies down. But you have to be willing to stick the course until it dies down. Because most people, what they do is that when it starts, they are going to give whatever urge they have. They're going to give, like for food, like for example, right? I want chocolate right now, so I'm going to get chocolate. But if you wait 5 minutes, if you wait 10 minutes, it's going to die down and you're going to forget about it, right? And so it's the same thing with the motivation that you have when you start a program. Now, that's one level. A deeper level, it's that many people, when they build their programs, when they talk about it online, they're super vague. And so they're going to be like, hey, make a lot of money. And all you have to do is do X, Y, and Z, right? Find your ICP, whatever, build your offer, show up online, 500,000 comments, whatever it is, right? But they never really show you what it takes to get there. And so when clients get into the program, they're mostly because you're vague, you're attracting the wrong people. The wrong people get into your program, and they're a pain in the ass clients. They want you to hold their hands every single step of the way. And even this culture of let's handle objections. I'm not handling objections anymore. I'm not even saying that. Like somebody tells me like I don't have the money. Okay, cool. I'm going to be here when you have the money. Come back when you're ready, right? Because I don't want to. There's something that I believe is that the way that you enroll somebody is the way that you're going to have to deal with them throughout the whole relationship post purchase. So if I have to convince you to enroll into my program, I'm going to have to convince you every step of the way to do the work, to show up for yourself. And I don't want that. Some people might. I don't. I don't have the bandwidth for that. I want to work with people that they already want to get the results. And yes, of course, it's going to be hard for them and whatever, right? But they already want to get a result and they're going to be willing to do the work because the work that I'm doing is really transformational. And like you said, I'm starting, and the revelation I had is when I think it was a year ago, I was working with somebody and it was a 7-month program. The first 4 month or 3.5 month, we were working on the deep inner work that we had to do. Now it wasn't as deep as I'm going nowadays, but it's basically was building the structure and the foundations before you can go out and start marketing your business. And that is something that you have to be mindful of because if you want to get the results, you have to get the transformation first. It's like, when everybody tells you like, forget that. When you have like those people that are super successful overnight for some reason, right? Because they had like a different starting point, because they found something that was, like the timing was right? They just launched something, the
The
timing was
moon, the
just
star
perfect.
and the moon's aligned.
Exactly. And something happened and they got the results, right? And now they're going to teach you how to get the results. They've never built the foundations of the business. And so if you're going to learn from them, most of the chances are you're going to fail eventually, right? Be it at the beginning and not getting the results, or getting some kind of results and then failing, or you're not going to get results at all. And so you have to be mindful of whether you've built the right foundations first before you go out and market your business or lose the weight or whatever, right? Build the relationship that you want. That's why for so long I didn't want to have a relationship. I was like trying to build the foundations. Now I'm finally ready. I'm like, oh, I want to get married. I want to have kids because I'm building the foundations, and I'm probably not where I want to get, but because I'm closer now, I'm like, okay, I can see myself having the capacity to hold a relationship, to hold a family, and so you have to build the foundations. The layer that is even deeper, it's what you said, the dips and the pits. When you build something, eventually people are bound to fail. Eventually. It might not be while they are in the program with you, maybe a few months later, a few years later, and maybe during the program. But when you build something for people and keeping in mind their operating system. I believe that people that I want to work with and that they want to work with me are people that are similar to me or people that are different, but they want to be similar to me. For example, let's say I was lazy. I'm lazy like to some level, right? But let's say I was super lazy, right? And so when you are super lazy, some people are super lazy like you and they want to get results. So how are we doing that? Because I'm lazy, so I built something based on my operating system, right? And so those people are going to want to work with me because I'm going to help them get the results while being lazy. Some people are not lazy. They're a go-getter. They're like super high achievers. But they're like, you know what? I'm tired and I want to be a little bit more like Kev. I want to be a little bit more lazy. And so I want to work with him because I want to know how to do it and get the results while being lazy. Right. And so when you build it based on who you are eventually there are some dips because you're teaching them a new thing, a new way of thinking, a new way of operating.
And you
And
were
so you
being.
have to of being exactly, and so you have to take that to keep that in mind, take inventory of what are the pits that can happen throughout their would say like their journey
Hmm.
in your program. And when they fall, eventually you have to know, okay, they're going to fall at this point and that point and this point, so I have to create a ladder for this point, that point, and that point. For example, I know that my people, they might talk themselves out of writing content or doing things their way because, like it's not acceptable. Everybody in the market are telling them like you have to follow this blueprints and this script and blah blah blah. And Kevin is telling me to do something else. I can do it on my own and I can be successful with my own on my own terms. And so it's scary at first. And so you're going to talk yourself out of it. And so what I'm doing is that I'm trying to instill in my people this I would call it the leader dialogue. So it's basically you asking yourself questions and taking inventory of what's going on. What is the resistance that is coming up? Because you don't want to do the work. Like right now, you have to write the content, but you're like, I don't feel like it. I don't want to. And so the question is, why? What is this resistance that I have right now? Where does it come from?
That's a great question because I've got my own version for clients on that. So when clients come in, we create what we call their superhero identity, right?
Right. Mhm.
Because being a superhero geek, I realized something. Superman, actually, here's a question I ask every client. Who do you trust to save the world, Superman or Clark Kent?
Mhm.
And they're like, well, is this a trick question? It must be Superman. I'm like, okay, great. So who is Superman in relation to Clark Kent? And they're like,
Mm.
it's the penny drops. Oh, it's Clark Kent and Superman are the same. Great.
Yeah.
So once we put together what we call a superhero identity, it's like who you're going to be, who you're going to show up, how do you want to show up, what are kind of your non-negotiables, all this kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Then we say, right, it makes life really easy. So I ask the question, when someone isn't doing what they should be, I just ask the question, is what how you're behaving now in alignment with the superhero identity that you read every day?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, because it can be, right? Because sometimes clients will say, Greg, I'm not sticking to my nutrition this week because there's something else in their dreams that they want to pursue, and that
Mhm.
means they can great. Because I don't want anyone to come into my world feeling shame for
Mhm.
pursuing a goal and dropping one off for a little while. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's okay. Perfectly okay. Because I think that shame issue is a big one, but I'll come back to that.
it is.
But
It is.
if it's a no, I'm not aligned with the
Mhm.
person I said I want it to be, then my next question is then, okay, what's the narrative that's spinning right
Hmm.
now that's stopping you acting in the way or the woman that you said you wanted to be?
Hmm.
Once I asked that question, I forgot a 99% get back on track rate.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not transforming the person, it's just holding them to the standard of who they said they wanted to be.
Hmm.
Because they will falter. They've now said, because it's scary to say that I'm going to use one of my clients' nicknames. They create superhero names for themselves. It's great.
Hmm.
So one of them said, "I want to be Luscious Latoya." She knows who she is.
Hmm.
That's the persona
Okay.
she's kind of created. I said, "Okay, great." And
Hmm.
when she said it, it was like, "Oh my God, that feels so freeing." I said, "But it's also going to
Hmm.
be nerve-wracking because you've now just created your own power,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
scary as hell."
Yeah.
And I think that's a big
And
one
the
for people.
standard, you're creating the
Yeah,
standard as well. You have to follow it.
yeah, you've now freed yourself from the old standards you had. You created a new one,
Yeah.
but with great power comes great responsibility, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah,
So
dude.
now it's scary. So
It is. It is scary. Yeah.
it's scary, and people shame themselves over missing the steps in the blueprint or not achieving the steps in the blueprint. And I think that's actually the biggest issue is that this
Hmm.
shame cycle creates what I call a verdict. So
Hmm.
the verdict being, well, I'm in Kev's program. I didn't do 10 pieces of content this week. So I'm not cut out to be a writer. I'm not creative. Those are the verdicts. It
Hmm.
stops you exploring what else you could do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could I have run Kev and said, "Hey Kev, look, I need to can I if I write 4 or 5, would that work?" And you go, "Yeah, why not?" Or I write a blog post or I talk my content out there. So it opens up possibilities. But when we judge ourselves with these verdicts,
Hmm.
it
You
closes off
block.
all
Yeah.
you've just blocked every next movement
Yeah.
you can make. And that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing I think that in business, health, people have to watch for is that verdict. Because once you put that verdict down, it becomes so hard to move it without support.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we go back to the past, in the past, those not following the rules or the how do you call it? The
The blueprint or
shit.
the
No,
methodology.
no, no, not blueprint. Like when you like a boundary, right? I
Yeah.
was losing my word for this, right? So when you're not following the boundary that your parents try to enforce on you, or your teachers, your coaches, your whatever friends, people that are like older than you were shamed, but you were also you internalized the shame. And one thing that I like asking people is that whose voice is that? Because when you are trying to say like, well, when you're saying basically things like, um, I'm not cut out to be creative. For example, for myself, I for the longest time I thought I wasn't creative at all. I thought I was the least creative person that you can ever meet in your life because I didn't have the proof that I was creative. And so when I was doing that, I was like you said, having a verdict, but the verdict itself is just a voice by somebody else. It's not my voice. It's the voice that I just internalized growing up from other people. Exactly. And now I'm operating in the world based on this identity that I got for myself. And it's what I said as a thought leader, right? Or a nonconformist person. When I wanted to go my own way, I would feel a lot of shame, a lot of guilt. I cannot do that because if I'm going this way, there's a lot of bad consequences because I have this roster of like proof of being shamed and guilted and being told that I'm like a bad kid, bad person for whatever, for trying to follow my
You're an
dreams.
outcast. You're outcast from the tribe. If you go down
Exactly.
that route, and you don't become a
Exactly.
doctor, a lawyer, or an accountant, those are the three from Jamaica,
Yeah,
then
from
you
Jamaica.
are not good enough. You're not my son.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Who are you? I don't know you. If I see you on the street, I'm going
Yeah,
to walk past you. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's the thing. That's the thing. Like when you are growing up and you're being told that what you're trying to do is not good, it's not right. And every parents back in the days, they didn't have this mindfulness of of understanding that, like, in order to educate your kids, you have to let them explore the world. You cannot just tell them like, "Hey, yeah, this is bad," blah, 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 like start yelling at them. Like, there's a neighbor at one point 2 days ago. I wanted to start screaming at him because he was screaming at his kid. His kid was crying for, obviously, like, it was bothering me too, right? I was trying to work. I was hearing like, "Ah!" Like, ah, shit, like, shut up. But then I hear the father, and he was like, "Shut up, shut the fuck up. I don't want to hear you. Shut up." And I was like, dude, like, you're right now, you're scarring your kid forever, for
Hmm.
life. And you're an asshole for doing that because you have to be patient with him. You have to try to understand what's bothering him, not not try to scream at him and like going crazy at him. So so when you are trying to do something and you feel the shame and the verdict, ask yourself, like, whose voice is that? Because 10 times out of 10 times, or let's say like 9 times, just to
Nine
be on
point
the safe side, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
9.99% of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Just to be on the safe side, somebody's gonna be like, "Oh, you know what? For myself, like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, shut
what
up."
about me?
Yeah, exactly. Everybody thinks he's a snowflake. But anyways, like, most of the time, it's somebody else's voice that you hear and you think it's yours. And when you can let it go and reprogram yourself to start asking these questions constantly, but not only ask this question, but also try to look where you're trying to get, like the superhero identity that you mentioned earlier, right? This is where I want to go. And for me to get there, I know that I have to go through those pitfalls, right? There are going to be pitfalls throughout the way. And so I have to be mindful of that. And I have to know, like you said, right? It's a relief to know that, but at the same time, it's like a lot of work to get there because you have to let go and decondition yourself for all those. And that's why one of the first steps in my program is the deconditioning part. Before we talk about branding and before we talk about like your ICP, before we talk about all those kind of things, you have to decondition yourself first of all from the voices in your past, what you think about yourself, the judgment that you put on yourself, but also decondition yourself from how you're doing things and how you've been doing things up until now because it's not working for you. And even if it's working a little bit, you're getting some kind of results. At the end of the day, you are like burning out. I burnt out for like I think 3 times. No, yeah, 3 times in like 5 years.
Yep.
It's a lot, dude. It's a lot, right? Because I was trying to do things the way that people told me to do it. They're blueprints.
It's so crazy. I've had many a conversation. Like this is probably like a template conversation I have with clients. It's like
Yeah.
they work for my program, and because they're not getting the weight loss result as fast as they used to get it on these programs where, it's like
Yeah.
follow the blueprint. They're like, "Oh my God, Greg, I'm not losing weight fast enough." I'm like, just remember what we came here to do. Remember you said it's not weight loss. It's actually you want to be more in tune with yourself and you want to live in a certain way.
Yeah.
But what happens is that conditioning can come back. That loop in the brain is
Mm-hmm.
really strong.
Yeah.
And as a coach, I think sometimes you have to just go, hang on, stop. Because we feel it too, right? We're like, we
Mm-hmm.
should be spitting out people who are all successful. Everyone smashes it all the time. That
Yeah.
is not the truth. I like my coaching idols are like Yoda, Mr. Miyagi, like all those old kung fu teachers in the 70s films,
Yeah.
Master Shifu, Kung Fu Panda, Master
Yeah.
Oogway, Master Splinter. Those are me.
Yeah. Master Splinter, dude.
Yeah, because I realized that the work I'm doing is so
Mhm.
powerful, but it means it won't spit out results of this person lost 20 pounds and it's not going to spit out those type of results.
Yeah.
I can do those results. I can do those with my eyes shut. It's not difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop helping those women become the women that they said they really wanted to become.
Mm-hmm.
That's the magic, but that doesn't get showy
Mm-hmm.
because most people look at the symptoms rather than the depth that we're trying
Right.
to work to. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing. It's like people want to know like the validation because it's validation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kip's got 20 clients, they've all made 10K in the first 5 minutes. They sent one post. They sent one post. This is the template they followed. Yeah.
Yeah.
The comment template in the comments below if you want it.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see that everywhere? It's driving me nuts nowadays. You see that everywhere. But you're right. You're right. Like you can get the results really quickly if you're like giving them blueprints. But again, they're gonna fail eventually because the blueprint is not fit for them because it's not fit for them to follow sustainably. Like I don't want to have to write, and I was writing about it the other day. I said I don't want to. I don't have nowadays. If I scroll through LinkedIn, I cannot find 10 posts to comment on in like
Oh,
30 minutes, in like an hour.
Kev, what's wrong with you?
Because
Hold on, Kev. What's wrong with you? You need to make sure you comment on 50 posts a day.
50
If you
posts
can't,
in
if you
five
can't get
minutes.
no, in 3.5 minutes.
Yeah. And you shouldn't say great post. And you're like, oh shit, like so like I have to try and elaborate something like,
Yeah.
but it drives me nuts because everybody tells you like you have to comment on this amount of posts. You have to send this amount of DMs. You have to all those kind of things that are I think that there are low level thinking or unsophisticated thinking that people have. They don't understand what's going on. And when you like, and that's what I said, when you're a person that got results really quickly without building the foundations, what you're going to do is that you're going to try to hang on and try to rely on those out like external um tactics, external strategies. Like you have to reply to comment on like 10 posts when you don't understand what's going on behind it. The,
Yep.
the idea of commenting is just to be visible, but you want to be visible in the right way because you have to create those brand associations with your people. So you cannot just reply whatever just because. You have to show your personality. You have to show that you know what you're talking about. And so when I scroll through LinkedIn or whatever, right, I wanna comment on some things because I have like a daily action plan. Like right, I have like 30 minutes of commenting. And again, it's not about 10 comments. It's just like 30 minutes of commenting. So I'm just scrolling down and trying to comment, trying to find some things. And if I cannot find anything, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to start sending DMs, whatever, right? I'm going to do something because I have to be visible. Visibility is part of your business. You have to be visible. But when I scroll through LinkedIn, I cannot get myself to start commenting because nothing is stimulating to me, or most of the things are not stimulating. So I'm like, if I have to follow those blueprints, I have to come up with whatever like fake reactions to what you're saying. Oh, you know what, Greg? Your great post. You know, when you're talking about this thing, I was thinking about that thing. Like boring as fuck. Like I want to be able to, if I have like a snap judgment, if I have a snap reaction, I want to be able to say it. If not, move on.
That kind of reminds me of a time where I worked in a hospital. I was
Mhm.
the manager for a gynae and maternity department, and I listened to a group of people. It was mainly women, but I think mainly nurses. They were around the princess talking away, and they were like trying to outdo each other with the different diets they had. It was like
Oh,
I'm doing
really?
Atkins, I've lost 5 pounds. Someone would be like, "Well, I'm doing carnivore, I've lost 7 pounds," and then someone was like, I'm doing the intermittent fasting keto raw diet, and I'm doing this." And I was watching them, and I just walked over and said, "Can I ask you a question, ladies? Are any of you actually happy with how you eat? Like, are you
Mhm.
missing out on potatoes?" And they all looked at me and were like, "What? We can eat potatoes?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they were like, "No, because my guru said it's gonna spike your insulin." I'm like, "How's the food gonna get into your cells without insulin?"
Mm.
But because they were so wrapped up in this, they must do this diet, they must do this. It was just going against their whole operating system, and they couldn't really
Yeah,
work it out. But
yeah.
it was interesting watching them trying to like one up each other. It's just
Mhm.
like this is nonsense. It's
Yeah,
absolute
yeah,
madness.
yeah. It's crazy how people try to one up other people. But one thing you said is the when you have when you're doing something as a human, right?
Mhm.
Humans, when we're doing something because of um, cognitive dissonance and like whatever, how the brain works, we end up being emotionally invested in what we're doing. And so for me, if I'm doing something, I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm better than you because I'm doing this, and you're better than me because you're doing that. So I have to like catch up, right? Yeah, exactly. I was talking to a guy yesterday. It was interesting because I was talking to a guy who has been doing some boxing for the past 3 years or 4 years. I'm like, you know what? I'm doing some Wing Chun Kung Fu. It's like, wait, isn't Kung Fu like, like meditation and just movements and whatever? Like, you're never sparring and whatever. I'm like, can be, or it can also be deadly. I don't know, but like, it depends how you do it. It depends how you do it. And and I tried to explain to him a few principles. Like when you punch this way, you don't punch that way, you don't punch like that, like you punch this way. And it's like, it's interesting. Like, why do you punch this way? It's not strong. I'm like, yeah, but you have the structure and you have like the body and all that. And I was trying to expose like this idea behind the Wing Chun. And I saw that the guy was trying to show me how it was like boxing was better. Like boxing is deadly. Like I can stand like this, I can punch you and whatever. Like, yeah, well, I wasn't trying to have it. Like I was trying to, and I think that that's a big the how can I say it? The big lesson from that is when you're convicted in what you're doing, when you're convicted and you have this intention behind what you're doing, whenever somebody is trying to fight with you, right? You're like, yeah, I don't need to fight you. Like, I don't need to be competitive with you because I know what I'm doing and I'm doing it because of whatever. Unless you give me some other whatever information, and then I'm gonna adjust and think about it and whatever and try to iterate my approach. But besides that, I know what I'm doing, so I don't have to fight with you. And so that's what I think is going on with those women. It's like, oh, I'm doing keto and blah blah blah, and like I'm doing this, and then they feel bad about themselves. When in reality, when you're convicted in who you are and you're grounded in who you are, and you've built this whole person, going back to Philip Bloomberg, the archipelago, if you can connect those different islands. But if you think about it, and that's why I love this analogy. It's like brilliant because when you have different islands, you have the water, and in order to go from one island to the other island, you have to leave the other island, right? Take the boat, whatever, like, and go to another island. But then, like, you have still the water, and you cannot go back because it's like a whole work, right? You have to get on a boat and blah blah blah. When you connect those with bridges, or even better, when you can stand, and he calls it standing. I don't know how he calls it in English, but stand in the spaces, I think. So basically, stand in the water
Yeah, makes
in
sense.
between.
Yep.
Yeah, when you can stand in between the islands, then you get
You
best of
get
the both world.
you get the water from that island, you get the water from that island, that river, everything goes into one space.
Exactly, exactly. Everything creates this cohesive person, this like whole person. And so then you don't have to compete with anybody. You're like, oh, you know what? Well, that's cool. You're doing this. That's cool. You're posting 10 times a day. Cool. I'm posting 3 times a day. I don't care. Right. You are, I don't know, you're trying to be visible everywhere. You're trying to do Instagram and do like Hormozy, Instagram, LinkedIn, Threads, TikTok, whatever.
Substack,
Great.
TikTok,
Yeah,
Facebook.
exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Good for him. Good for him. That's great. Right. But he's Hormozy. He's doing whatever he wants. I'm Kevin. I'm doing whatever I want. I'm doing things on my term.
It's crazy that you said that. It was just because I see when I talk to these ladies and I say, listen, we're gonna just start with you going to sleep on time for the next
Mm-hmm.
month. Yeah, but
What? I want
I
to lose
saw
weight.
so and so. She's like training 6 times a week. Yes, she's been my client for 6 years now. So she
Mm,
can handle 6 times a week. Her life, her health architecture is so firm and solid. That
yeah.
foundation you talked about earlier, she can do that. Right now, we got to build your foundation. You need to be rested. You're a brain athlete. I call all my clients brain athletes. Brain
Hmm.
athletes have a finite amount of energy where they
Yeah.
can perform brilliantly. That's what they get paid the big bucks for.
Hmm.
But they're so
Yeah.
busy trying to be everywhere all at once. And I'm like, hey, why are you going to 10 meetings a day? That's
Hmm.
And they're like, what's that got to do with my health? I'm like, you don't take a lunch break. So it goes back to the point you talked about at the beginning. Like, we need to have structured stuff and space for ourselves. But if your identity is, I always need to be visible at work or LinkedIn, like you said, you will never be able to go in and what I call working in. Everyone's too busy working out, which is why they're all broken.
Yeah. That's a good thing.
They're
That's a
already,
good thing.
everyone's working outwards. There's no anything
Hmm.
coming back in. That's why everyone's burnt
Yeah.
out and tired. But
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
mentioned it earlier, you said about lazy, and it was interesting you brought that word up
Hmm.
because, I'd say to a client, well, I want you to hit 5,000 steps a day.
Hmm.
What? Am I that?
What?
I'm not lazy. Listen, listen, in a minute, you can't even do this and this because you've got so many of these other things going on. So
Hmm.
let's
Yeah.
hit that. And this laziness thing, I think humans are in we are lazy people. We are lazy. That's why we have cars, planes. That's why we
Hmm.
don't we don't get horses everywhere anymore, right? Because someone said, stuff this. There needs to be a more efficient way. So we look for
Yeah.
that. But rest and relaxation has become so disconnected from our identities nowadays
Mm.
that it's
Yeah.
almost scary for people to actually rest and take a few days off LinkedIn or book a hot. I say to my clients, you need to have a strategic rest every 3 months, every quarter. You need to go away
Mhm.
for 2 weeks. It's not like you can't afford it. Go to Barbados, whatever you need to do. And they like,
Mhm.
really? I can do that? I'm like, yeah, it's
Yeah,
okay.
definitely. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so crazy. So, yeah,
Yeah.
we're so disconnected from the human nature almost.
Mhm.
This is why people struggle to connect with that identity of self.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that it goes back to what we said earlier. As humans, in our brain is basically trying to save as much energy that it can, right? Save calories, right?
Yeah.
So the brain tries to, yeah, the brain tries to save as much energy that it can, and so we are lazy. Now, it's a matter of finding, like you said, strategic resting. Because you can be a person that is a go-getter, a person that is like mission oriented and whatever. Like I'm shifting from who I was before. Before I was this kind of person that was trying to do the bare minimum and don't bother me, right? But at the same time, the results that I got in my life were shitty, and I hated my life. And so now I'm trying to move past that and trying to be the person that always jumps first, right? When I was a kid, everybody told me like, "Oh yeah, the donkeys jump first." I'm like, "Ah, yeah, I don't want to be a donkey." But nowadays, I want to be the donkey, man. I want to jump first. I want to do the work. I want to actually be the person that is always showing up. But I also recognize and I also realize that I have to take those strategic rests, like you said, because it's really key for our brain to recharge. Even like in workout, when you go and work out every 12 weeks, you take a deload. I take a deload week. I don't know about your clients, I don't know about other people, but I take a deload week. And for me, like next week is deload week. Man, I'm looking forward to that. I'm like super excited about it. Like, yeah, it's
Do you
gonna be
know how
fun.
many people struggle with that? When I say, listen, for the next 2 weeks, I want to eat more food, no workouts. And they're like,
What's going on?
what's going on? And you're right. You have to recharge. Even in
Yeah,
my training sessions, my partner,
yeah.
she's like, you take too long to rest. And then I go and
Mm.
pick up a big plate and she's like, I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
this
okay.
is why I rested because this is what I'm lifting, right? Or this is what I'm
Yeah,
training. So yeah, your point is perfect.
yeah, yeah. There's a friend of mine, like a guy that I met at the gym. The guy, I see him is like running from one exercise to the other exercise, and he's like trying to lift weight here and then lift weight there, and like the guy never rests. And I'm like, dude, you have to rest. He's like, no, I'm resting between sets, between going from one exercise to the other. I'm like, that's fucking retarded. Like you're gonna burn out. First of all, you're gonna injure yourself, but also you have to rest if you want. And he's like, yeah, I want to grow. I want to be bigger and whatever. I'm like, you have to rest. If you want to get bigger, you have to rest. You can't. And he cannot understand that. Like, dude, I've been on his ass for like the past 2 months. And now, because he started training with me a little bit sometimes, I'm like, yeah, we're resting 3 minutes. It's like, what? Three
What?
minutes? I'm like,
What?
yeah, 3 minutes, man. 3 minutes. We're resting. It's like, oh, like feels the itch. And I felt the itch at the beginning. I was like, I cannot take like 3 minutes away, a break. I cannot not work out for a whole week. I feel the itch, man. Like when I don't work out, when I'm in a deload week, I'm excited about it. But at the same time, I feel like, oh, I want to be at the gym right now. I want to work out. I want to go for a run. I want to go for whatever, like do some calisthenics, whatever it is, right? Just do something, move your body. But yeah, at the end of the day, you have to rest. And it's the same thing with business. Business is as much as you have out. output in business. You have to be visible. You have to write content. You have to engage with people. You have to send DMs. You have to talk to people. You have to talk to clients. You have to do a lot of things. And so you have to also have this input that is quality. And the input can be resting, but it can be also consuming content. People tell you, like, oh, you have to just be a creator, not a consumer. It's like, no, that's dumb, because you have to consume quality content if you want to output, if you want to create quality content. So you have to consume and consume content. You have to rest. You have to do those things that are just self-care. Just take vacations. Or like 2 days ago, I took a day off and I wasn't doing shit. I was watching some TV shows and I was doing whatever, everything that people were telling you not to do.
Yep.
Right? Don't watch TV shows. Don't do this. Don't do that.
Don't
Like,
go on your
yeah,
phone. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna scroll on my phone a little bit. I'm gonna cook myself some a nice dinner. I cook myself some and I know you're gonna appreciate it. Some chili pepper jam.
Nice.
Dude, awesome. I didn't have the Caribbean pepper, but still, like, dude, it was
Yeah, you need some
awesome.
Scotch bonnet. Scotch bonnet
Yeah,
chili.
exactly, dude. I needed that, but I didn't have it. Anyways, yeah, that's the thing. You have to rest.
Awesome. One thing you shared with me a couple of weeks ago was about, because you do some work in an obesity clinic, and you talked about one of your clients and the big win she got. And I just thought that
Yeah,
was a story that I think would resonate from a health point of view, but also from a business point of view. It was
yeah.
about the lady who, I can't remember her name or whatever. I'm sure you told me, but yeah, just drop some in that insight for me, because that was a brilliant little story.
Do you remind me of the story, because I have like a few a few patients.
It was the lady who was like, finally, I'm the person who does this. So,
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
that one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It was, yeah. So my patient was, she was spending a lot of time trying to follow this super strict diet that nobody told her to. Nobody told her to. Like, she comes to the clinic and she meets the dietitian, she meets the physiotherapist, doctors, endocrinology, and me. And nobody told her like to restrict herself so much. And she came to me and she started talking about how she was restricting herself. And then she's like, I don't I don't want to restrict myself too much, because then I'm super hungry and I'm eating a lot, right? I'm eating a lot afterward. Like I'm having this binge moments where I'm like binging and like going crazy with my refrigerator. But then she came in and she's like, you know what? Like, I talked to the dietitian, and tell me if that's the story, because maybe it was
I
another
think
one.
this is the one. Yeah, this sounds like the
But
one.
it was the one. Okay, so she went to the dietitian, and the dietitian was getting on her ass. Like, oh, you're too strict. Like, she had a diary when she was writing, like, oh, I'm eating this and this and this and that. And the dietitian was telling her, like, hey, you are really too strict with yourself. And so she came to me and she started talking about it. And I was like, listen, like, what is your secondary benefit of being too strict and then binging? Because like you're like getting on the wagon, falling off the wagon, getting off the wagon,
Jumping off,
falling off the wagon.
she jumped off the wagon. She doesn't fall off, she jumps.
Yeah, yeah, jump. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I was like, listen, like you're going up and down all the times. Like, what's going on? Like, what is your secondary benefit of you doing that? Like, why are you going through these motions and not like basically having kind of like a straight line? It's not really a straight line, but when you look at it like the graph, it's like just up and downs, but it goes up, goes
Yeah,
up. Eventually it goes up, right? And it's like the stock market. It's like going up, but it's like up and down, but eventually it's like when you look at it
the
like
trend.
macro,
Yeah.
exactly, it's a trend. But for her, it was like, like what's going on? And so she started thinking about it. And funny story, I realized that yesterday I was talking to the dietitian. She's like, you know what? I got really offended by Kevin because he told me I was lazy. Like, I never told that. I never told her that. But I told her something else. She understood something else. But what I'm saying is, when you are looking at the secondary benefit of you doing something, you are eventually going to find out why you are failing in what you're trying to achieve. And I cannot tell you what your secondary benefit. I can have some kind of hypothesis, but you know exactly. If you sit down, try to write about it, because the reason we all do something or not doing something is because we want to do something else. It's not that you don't want to do it. It's not that you don't want to lose the weight. Like gurus will tell you, right? They will tell you like, oh, you're in my programs to lose weight, but you're not losing weight because you don't want it. It's not, no, it's not that I don't want to lose weight. I want something else that clashes with losing weight. And so if I can think about what is the other thing that I want that clashes, then I can figure out a way to incorporate both of them and to be empowered to actually get after my goal. But it's two goals. It's not one goal. It's two goals. It's
Yep.
basically the goal of getting the results that I want and getting the other thing that I want. And it's a two goal that you can actually, if you spend time thinking about it, you're eventually going to find the solution for that. Same thing with business. You want to write content, and that's why I was saying earlier, you want to write content, you want to be visible, you want to do all those things, but at the same time, you don't want to do it. But it's not that you don't want to do it, you want to do something else.
Yeah, you want something
And
else underneath it which you haven't articulated.
exactly. When you ask yourself, like, what is the resistance that comes up? Why am I not doing it? Why what is my secondary benefit? What is the need that is underneath that is not getting met? And if I can figure out this thing, right? I want to have a successful business, but at the same time, I want something else. What is it? What is it? I want to be able to, if we go back to the lazy example, I want to be able to just be lazy, take the time to just enjoy myself, go out whenever I want, meet my family when they come to visit me from whatever country they are, right? Or go travel to another country and not take my laptop, right? I want to do those things, but I know that because everybody told me that if I want to have a successful business, I have to be like 24/7 on my business. I cannot relax. I have to work 16 hours a week. Hormozy told me like hustle, 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 right? And so when I have this idea, I'm like, okay, I want to do that and I'm willing to do it and I have the motivation and go back to the beginning of the podcast. It's like you have like this kind of urge, like I have the motivation and everything's fine, and then it dies. So it's the same thing. Like I have the motivation at first, but then I burn out. And the reason for that is because I've never figured out what is the other need or needs that are not being met. And I have to incorporate that and combine these in order to have this one overarching goal. And that's one of part of my program. It's like at first you have the conditioning, then you have the integration, and then you have to the vision, which incorporates the different aspects and different goals that you want to have in your business before we start talking about the ICP, before we start talking about the message, before we start talking about the offer.
Yeah,
It comes first. It comes
before the
first.
before the workouts, the training program, and the diet.
Exactly. The
Exactly.
identity, the superhero identity before you start talking about, hey, and like you said with your clients, one is working 6 times a week, and the one that you're talking to, she has to build a foundation first, because without the foundation, she's not going to be able to. And the foundation is again, crafting this identity, understanding who she is, removing all those like layers that she piled up growing up from people telling her like, hey, it's not good, don't do this, there's the verdict, there's the shame, right? You have to move everything, understand who you are, understand what you want to get, and now we can work on your diet, now we can work on your nutrition, now we can work on your workout.
Your business, whatever.
Yeah,
You've been dropping
exactly.
some bombs today, man.
Yeah, man, both of us, man. And I like the way that you are approaching it, because it's, for me, it's like there's no I said, no fake notes. Like it's really the way that you have to think about it. It's like there's the person that you want to become, and there's the person that you are underneath, like this little kid that never grew up actually, because society expectations and all that. And you have to understand that, and you have to understand this like this trajectory that you want to get into and how to get there with this person, not the person that you are today, because the person you are today is not who you really are. It's the person underneath.
Love
So
it.
I like the way you approach it, and I think that your clients are in good hands with you, man.
I think they are. No, I know they are. Hell, I know they are. Um, but I think that's why,
Hell yeah.
hell yeah. I think this is why we get on so well and why we've always had this because I think we both think on a very similar line with how a lot of these things and a lot of things you said to me about business, career stuff has always made total sense to me. So the symbiosis of this
Yeah.
conversation has been absolutely amazing. If there was one thing you wanted to leave the listener with, what would that
Mhm.
be?
That's a good question. We talked about so many things, man.
But you gotta
It's like
pick one.
you gotta pick one.
Just that one that you feel is like, yeah, this is, if Kev were never to talk again, this is what the one thing he would say to someone.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the most important thing is if you want to build anything, if you want to get anything in your life, you got to look at it from the scope of what do I want and try to do the deep inner work before you go and try to get it. Because if you try to get it right now, it's like those people that try to win the lottery, right? They win the lottery and then they go broke in like a few months or a few years.
Upper limit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because those people never build a foundation. So you have to understand who you're trying to become and who you are. And that's what we said like just like 5 minutes ago. It's like you have to understand that before you try to get to whatever you want to get.
Awesome. If someone's looking to understand their business identity, where can they find
Mm.
you? Where can they find you?
Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn. Most of the day I'm there. So you go to linkedin.com/Kevin dash Chiche. So Kevin Chiche, or you can look me up on LinkedIn, Kevin Chiche, and you're gonna find me handsome fella with a nice profile picture. But yeah, at the end of the day, you're gonna see that I'm talking about something that people are not talking about, and it's basically how to show up and how to build your brand without curating a persona, without having to fake who you are, and be able to show up the way you want on your own term, even if you are lazy, even if you are whatever introvert, extrovert, whatever it is, right? And so you're gonna see it. It's in my tagline. You're gonna be able to recognize me.
Love it. Love it. So people, if you're listening to this and you know someone who wants to inject their own identity into their business rather than injecting their business into their identity,
Yeah, yeah, that's
Kev
it.
is your man. And
Yep,
share this podcast. I think there's some gems on it. Listen to it about 4 or 5 times. I think this
definitely.
could have been paid. This should have been paid.
Should have been. Yeah. Well, we're not making it paid. Maybe
Exactly.
next time we're gonna do something, a workshop or
Yeah,
something
maybe
like that.
we'll talk about that. That's good.
Yeah, definitely,
All
definitely.
right, buddy.
Some kind of thing.
Thank you for coming on, and ladies and gents, go follow Kev, and I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.
Tschüss.